Kgosietsile for many years now joins us in the studio. Thank you so much for your time and welcome. First of all, just what exactly was your involvement with the work of the late Professor Kgosietsile?
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I've known Brawili for many years, of course, you know, in our younger days, myself, not him. In the 70s, we used to read a lot about Brawili. And then, of course, when he came back from exile, I was then the Secretary General of the Congress of South African Writers. And he came in, joined our ranks, and contributed mightily in that organization with the likes of Bramandla Langa, he just mentioned, Nadine Godima, the late, in running workshops, especially for the youth. And also bring up what we used to call barefoot libraries. And later, of course, you know, we've always been connected with Brawili. Yes. But later, when I left the Congress of South African Writers, we set up the Right Associates, which is an organization or a company that organizes around the literary arts. Yeah. And in years to come, we then established the South African Literary Awards, which after Professor Ziskunene bestowed the National Poet Laureate Prize to Professor Keorapitse Kgosietsile, of course in conjunction with the Department of Arts and Culture.
Now, many of us will only probably know his work or what we see in the media, but you worked with him personally. Yes. What kind of a person was he?
Well, if one is to use the tired cliches, Brawili was a scholar, a writer of note, a teacher at all levels, a soldier. He was an MK soldier. Yeah. Worked very closely with the late O.R. Tambo. With us, Brawili, we called him forever young, because he was always working with young writers with great humility. When you're with Brawili, he's such a wise, foresighted kind of person, but he was always, you know, at the level of the ordinary person. So he was very highly respected. The literary world has lost a major, you know, influence. The calls we've been getting, you know, are just people, some of them can't even finish sentences. And our hearts, of course, they go to O's baby.
Now, wife, you know. The late professor really grew up in the struggle. But when you look at his work, is there any link within his work that you can say he is a person of the struggle?
Well, you know, Brawili was quite a great person. His writing was the struggle, I dare say, and the struggle was his writing. He's the only non-American who was invited to speak, by the way, at the funeral of Malcolm X. Not only did he speak there, he also, you know, rendered his poetry. But Brawili was a very rounded individual. First and foremost, a writer, but a very, you know, more than politicized kind of a writer. You learned all sorts of things from Brawili. And what then would you say was his greatest contribution? Because this is a person who worked both in the United States and in various parts of the African continent. Yes. But what would you say was his main contribution to the literary world here in South Africa? Well, of course, he was a National Poet Laureate. We couldn't look any further. But as I was trying to say earlier, his contribution was in bringing up and growing young talent. That was his passion, besides his many books of poetry that he has published. And he was engaged also, I really need to stress that, and it's a pity that towards you know, his passing, he was, you know, become a bit weak, but his heart was burning, you know, with the need to, you know, impart the skills of writing to the youth.
You are a publisher yourself. Were you lucky enough to publish any of his works?
Well, I'm involved with a number of publishing concerns. I'm not, you know, the hard core of publishing. I still, my heart still bleeds that we have not, as South African publishing world at large, taken the pantheon of Professor Keorapitse Kgosietsile work and put it up there. Most of his works are out of print, and they were published abroad whilst he was in exile. And I pray and hope and trust that unfortunately we have to do these things when he's gone, but I hope that the publishing world in South Africa will wake up and get his work republished. And
very quickly, how then do you think South Africa as a nation should really honor and remember the legacy of Professor Kgosietsile?
I will simply repeat his words that to be a writer, you must read. And read and read and read. And I think the honor we can pay to Willie is to read his work, because his work is his legacy that lives on.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We have to end it there, but it was a pleasure chatting to you. That was the publisher Morakabe Seakgwa, who worked with the late Professor Kgosietsile for many years. Now into